Welcome back to the 1111 Synchronized Podcast. Hope everyone's doing well, staying safe, keeping hope alive. Everyone just take a deep breath in and take a deep breath out. All right, so today the Lionsgate is officially at its peak, okay? So join me by taking just let out a roar. If you're into the Lionsgate, you know what that is. Just let out a roar. Don't be shy. Just roar! Just let it out. Just let it out. Good job, everyone. So, what is the Lionsgate, right? Well, that's not what we're talking about today. But I did want to briefly mention that because there's a lot of energy. You know, we just had a full moon. Today is the peak of the Lionsgate. And if you're not sure what that is, I encourage you to do your research on that. But yeah, we're continuing with the law of attraction and creating our own reality. But before we get started, if you have any topic requests that you'd like to hear, if you'd like to be a feature, if you'd like me to be a feature for you, hit me up, Instagram at Agent K21 Podcast, Instagram and Twitter at Agent K21. You can find me on all the social media platforms. Reach out, let me know what you want to hear. Thank you all for your messages. Thank you for subscribing and for sharing these messages. Greatly appreciated. And just also before we even get started, I want to just take a moment of silence for the world events that are going on right now. So a lot of events going on, but in particular, I'm talking about what the recent explosion that happened in Beirut in Lebanon. So if you would, please just join me for a moment of silence. I appreciate you all for doing that. Now, there's a lot of talk about that. This is just a distraction, a conspiracy theory. Basically these explosive devices were improperly placed in some warehouse or someplace. I don't know all the details exactly, but I've read a couple articles, and basically these devices, explosive devices, have been stagnant since 2013, and they just decided to go off this year. Nothing is by coincidence, nothing is by accident. So yeah, maybe it's a distraction, maybe it's for a greater reason. But the truth of the matter is 100 people were killed, 4,000 or more were injured, and families are grieving. So thank you all for joining me on that. And so as we continue to proceed in the Law of Attraction series here, we have to wonder, can we create our own reality? And initially, perhaps if you were like myself, when you hear we create our own reality, it might feel impossible, or it might seem like a helpless, powerless state. Like, okay, that's nice to think, but do we really? Because tragedies still happen. Terrible things happen to good people. All these different things happen, which is true. But what is also true is that we can we can create our own reality. Notice how it's not we can control our reality or we can control our circumstances. No, but the way we create our own reality is the way we choose to respond to reality. You can take two people, get them in the same situation. One person might respond or react with anger. Another person might respond with gentleness and peace and kindness. What's the difference? Well, the difference is one person has consciously chosen to create their own reality. One person may not be aware that they can create their own reality. One person may be operating out of a sleepwalker mentality, walking out of being on autopilot, not being very aware, being oblivious, operating from the subconscious mind. Whereas someone else might have chosen to make things from the subconscious mind conscious. And we see these two individual people, and we might just say, well, one person just naturally does that. The other person, that's just who they are. I think that's an incorrect assumption. I think that we all have that same power to choose. Do we want to be a Gandhi, or do we want to be the villain? Do we want to be the hero or the villain? And how we paint those stories and how we categorize it is completely up to us, because in one sense, the hero is the villain is the hero, depending on who's reading the narrative. by getting to creating our own reality and how we can do that, the way that we create our own reality is with our words. Well, even before we even get to our words, because what's in our heart is going to come through our mouth. Whatever is who we truly are is going to show through the words that we choose to speak, the words that we choose to omit. So when we're creating our own reality, it starts at the foundation of what are our beliefs. What is our inherent beliefs, And through this journey called life, we all get set in the set circumstances and experiences that shape us. Now, they may shape us, but they don't have to make us or break us. We can choose what we decide for ourselves and who we want to be. And that is taking our power back to create our own reality. And so starting with that foundation of what are our beliefs? Are they even our beliefs? Did we adopt these beliefs from our parents, from society, from our culture? Where do these beliefs come from? And are we courageous enough to challenge them, to question them, to dive deeper on them? So we have those beliefs that set that foundation. Another way to look at it is whether you believe you can or believe you can't, you are absolutely right. Whether we believe we can or believe we cannot, we are absolutely right. Because our power is in our belief. Our power is our faith in those beliefs. What we believe is our point of attraction. So if we believe we can, then we absolutely can. If we believe we cannot, then we will not. Very simplistic way of viewing it. Another example would be, and I know there's a lot of, health issues going on right now. So not even trying to say this to step on anyone's toes or trigger anything, but just follow me with this example. If someone goes to the doctor and they get a negative report, the doctor gives them a negative report. You only got 5 months, or whatever the case is. We can choose to believe that doctor, or we can choose to believe our truth. Now, very carefully here, when we are trying to create our own reality, we have to make sure that we are operating from reality, because there's a slippery slope that if we're not careful, we can fall into denial. We can fall into overlays. We can fall into fantasy. And that is the opposite of reality. So in order to create your own reality, you have to operate from the realm of reality. We have to operate from what is reality. And so in reality, there can be several different truths that are also true that exist at the same time, depending on our different perspectives. One person can look at the number 9 and say, this is a number 9. Another person from a different angle could look at that same number and say, no, this is a 6. They're both correct. Different perspectives. So back to the example of the doctor may give a negative report. Example 1 is operating from reality. Or no, let's start with the other one first. So this would be an example of not operating from reality, which AKA is called denial, right? So someone may go to a doctor. Doctor may give a negative report. A person who is not creating their own reality will create their own denial. So instead of operating from reality, they may say, what problem? I don't have a problem. Nope. I heard the doctor say I only got, X amount of time, but not listening to that because it's just not true. And I'm just going to not change my eating habits, not going to exercise, not going to do anything. I'm just going to say it's not going to happen because it does not exist. And ironically, you bring more, we would attract more denial in that situation. The issue doesn't vanish on its own. That's why the action and the choices we make create our reality as well. So same example from the standpoint of operating within reality, but consciously choosing to create your own reality. Doctor may give someone a negative report. You have XYZ time, and the person may say, okay, granted, I hear you. That's true. This and this is going on, and I'm going to choose to not feed that any energy by eating healthy, reading good books, staying positive, and not believing what you have said, because I am going to choose my own truth. And if, we believe that that's not going to be the case, then it won't be. And scenario example number 3. This person goes to the doctor. Doctor gives a negative report. You have X amount of time. This person says, oh my gosh, the doctor is absolutely right. They are the authority. They know better. They done went to school. They got this. So, they told me this is true. It must be true. And what they end up doing is festering more fear. And so they're not going out. They're not getting sunlight. They're just sitting at home, rocking themselves, going, oh my gosh, I have this amount of time to live. Let me, whatever the case is. I have X amount of time. Let me go ahead and write my thank you letters now. That person would be operating from reality, and they have the same power to create their own reality. They aligned with the doctor's perception, and they created that same reality that the doctor was giving them. So, and this is not a, judgment of one is better than the other. It's to bring awareness to how we create our own reality and what points of attraction do we use. So it's about our beliefs, and did an episode about faith. Faith and belief kind of goes hand in hand. So you can check that one out as well. So when we have our foundation of what do we believe and really getting clear on that, that's how we can operate out of creating our own reality. On top of that, what we believe will come out of our mouth. The words that we speak will show where our beliefs are. We reveal a lot by what we say and by what we do not say. So, and furthermore, our thoughts contribute. I forgot a step there. Our thoughts contribute to it. So whatever our most prominent thoughts are, it eventually comes out of our mouth. What comes out of our mouth eventually comes to our life. So if someone continues to speak positivity and love and peace and prosperity, that's going to show up. If they are grateful for even the most minor thing, they will be rewarded with more things to be grateful for. Versus the person who complains, who blames, who, other negative things. Like I can't even think of anything right now, but operating out of that standpoint of bashing and hating and complaining and whatever else, they're going to attract more of that as well. And they're going to speak that way to others, and they're going to most definitely speak that way to themselves. So getting really clear on that, those 3 things would be like the bottom chakras, right? The beliefs, the thoughts, and the words. And then we get to the last step, which would be our actions and our choices. So once we have done that work to create a solid foundation, we'll eventually get to the place where we start making different choices in our life. There may have been a time where you're driving in traffic and someone cuts you off and you give them the finger, or you cuss them out, or you blow your horn. But the more you raise your vibration, the more you elevate, the more you send out love and positivity, that stuff doesn't faze you anymore in the same way that it might once have. So someone might cut you off, and now you're able to extend compassion and say, I wonder what they're going through. I'm going to send them love instead. Maybe they're rushing to get their pregnant wife to the hospital. Maybe something terrible has happened for them. Maybe they had a rough life, and so when we start to choose differently, we start to operate and connect differently and receive different things. And so those are kind of my thoughts as far as how we create our own reality. In order to create our own reality, we have to acknowledge where we are. And this is why it's so important to not be in the state of resistance. Because if we're resisting something, we're not acknowledging where we are. How we can acknowledge where we are is to embrace it and accept it and approve of it completely. And this can go contrary to our upbringing. So it might feel foreign. It might even feel wrong or guilty for doing that. But we have to push through those feelings in order to not even push through them, but we have to allow for them. We have to provide space for them all to exist. Each and every one of them are valid, so we have to treat them as such. And so those are kind of my thoughts about that right now. I feel like there's so much more I could say. There's so much more I've been thinking of saying, but I'm going to continue to add some more layers to this law of attraction concept, and let me know what you guys are thinking. Let me know what your thoughts are. Has this been helping you? And I definitely appreciate the messages. So I'm going to give a few recommended sources to further illuminate this topic. Again, Abraham Hicks is a great resource. You can find them on YouTube, books, Amazon, etc., wherever you read books, iBooks, etc., ebooks. That's a great resource for anything regarding the law of attraction, And I'm no expert on it. This is my take on it. So if it helps you, great. If it doesn't, also great. And so a couple of videos, as always, just take what resonates. Take what resonates, leave what doesn't. And before I even get to the videos, a book I'm going to recommend is called, some of you may have heard of this book, The Four Agreements. The Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. Yes, The Four Agreements. A Practical Guide to Personal Freedom wisdom book. That's a really great book as far as understanding, what are we agreeing with? What are we aligning ourselves with? What beliefs do we hold near and dear to us? And becoming aware of our subconscious, becoming conscious of the subconscious. And then a couple videos I'm going to recommend. The 3 videos here, they all are by Teal Swan. I've mentioned her before. They've been beneficial for me, and they may help you as well. First video I'm going to say is called Overlay. Overlay by Teal Swan. The next video is called Fragmentation, the Worldwide Disease. All of these can be found on YouTube as well. In the last video, How to Call Bullshit on Denial. Those are really great videos to kind of assess where we are, where each of us are at as far as creating our own reality. And I think another important point of creating our own reality is to realize that we are everything and nothing at the same time, so that we really create our own reality with the humble attitude, with humility to say, we are not in control of events in the world and other people, but we recognize where our power relies, and it's how we choose to respond, it's how we choose to think, and how we choose to behave. And having the confidence to know that we can change our circumstances, that we do not have to be subjugated to the conditions we currently live in. And that is how we learn from the past and we create the future. Because if you think you can, you absolutely can. If you think you cannot, you're absolutely right as well. So I hope this was beneficial for you all. And thank you all for listening. Sending my love to each and every one of you. And be well, stay safe. Lionsgate. Until next time.